Good morning. My name is Karen Kong, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, and welcome to my Crafting to Go series. For those of you who have watched my lives before, you know that normally I have a this or that on Thursday, and I have two cards that you guys can choose from and vote on. But I'm changing it up for January and February this year. I am hosting a Crafting to Go series, so for 4 weeks I will use one bundle to make a series of cards, and if you place a qualifying order with me during the specified period, I will send you a free card kit to make all the cards after the series is done. So this month is the on display bundle, and I was seriously surprised that the bundle is now on sale. Well, not the bundle itself. You have to purchase the components separately, I believe. I don't remember what the sale price is, but it's definitely less than what I paid when I bought it back in, I feel like it was in December. Yeah, this is a fairly new bundle, and it's already being retired. So grab those bundles on sale if you can, if you want to make this series with me. So this is today's card. I was making a far more complicated card yesterday and the day before, and I thought that for the class it might kill me to do all the die cutting. And I'm sure that all my friends who are on my team will be laughing when they hear about it. Anyways, so that's the that's the gist of what's going on. And so I was making a far more complicated card last night, and I wanted to simplify it, and inspiration hit me at about 10:30 at night. So that's why I'm scrambling this morning, because I only got part of the card done last night and I finished it this morning, and that is why I am running late today. This is the card, so there's far less cutting to do and more use of the stamps. I really like how it turned out after all the stressing out I did. So let me just get my computer up and running so I can see your comments when we are crafting together. And you can just join in, say hi, because it's far more fun to have people joining me on my live and chatting with me, because I'm terrible at talking to myself. So I just gotta switch. So yes, I am really behind this morning because I was finishing off the card. My desk was a disaster area, of course, and so I had to make room and try to pre-cut some of the stuff so that I don't have to spend so much time prepping live, because when you get the card kit from me, it will be all the pieces will be pre-cut for you. Good morning, Sandra. Okay, so my computer is up and running. All right, so let's switch over to the desktop. If you just want to close your eyes, and while I switch my camera mount. Good morning, Shalee. Thanks for joining me, ladies. Thanks for your patience. It's been a little bit crazy trying to finish the card today. As I was just saying earlier, that you guys missed it, I think, that I was working on a more complicated design the last few days, and came up with, well, I had inspiration at 10:30 last night, so that's why I'm late this morning, because I only finished the card this morning, literally a few minutes ago. Okay, so we are using the on display bundle. There are a whole pile of dies in this set, and you can see them here. There's tons and tons of dies. It's such a cute set. So many different things that you could play with. Definitely lots to combine and mix and match, right? So that's the bundle. Here's the card. So I really wanted to focus on the books itself for this card, and I could have used the other sentiment, treat your shelf, ha ha ha. So anyways, I wanted it to be a birthday card, and this is more of a masculine card, so better for the guys. I know that we make a lot of cards that are suitable for women, but I think this one will be perfect for guys. So I think it'll be a good addition to my stash. Okay, so let's get started on this card. It's a very simple layout. Yeah, so the dies are on sale. Everything's on sale right now. Like I said, I was surprised to see that it was already on its way out. Because I just got this in December, so who knew? Okay, so let's get started on this card. It's a very simple layout. It is just your regular 8.5 by 5.5 inch sheet of paper. If you haven't watched my lives before, I always put the measurements in my video description after I post it. And you can find my videos on Facebook for 30 days until Facebook deletes it. And I also upload my videos to YouTube, so they'll always be up on YouTube for you to follow. So if you get the card kit, you can just go to YouTube and find the video again there and make the cards. So this, like I said, is a regular 8.5 by 5.5 sheet of paper scored in half. I already pre-cut that part. This is Night of Navy. This is a mat that I have right behind here. It's a very thin matting layer. It is, let me just check, 5 1/8 by 3 7/8 inch. Okay. And I'm going to put that aside. This is the piece we'll be stamping. It is 5 by 3 3/4. And I also used a sheet from the Country Woods DSP to cut my shelf. Okay, so I used this sheet and I just cut 1/4 inch strips and trimmed them down to put on underneath my books. Okay. So we'll start with stamping the books because that's what takes a bunch of time. I'll tell you that actually putting on that piece of twine took me more time than stamping the books, I think. Anyways, yeah, Ashley, you got a great deal on those the dies and the stamps. I can't believe they're on sale already. Okay, so what I did actually to make sure that my my shelf was straight and my books were straight, I actually drew lines in pencil. And you won't see them because you're going to cover it up with your shelf. Okay, so I am going to just mark lines on my shelf. So this is my grid paper, and this is the side with imperial markings, and so I'm going to use that to help me. So I'm putting the lines at 1 inch. Okay, so let me just so I'm just using 1 2 3 4. So 1 inch is here. I'll use the lines to help guide my ruler instead of having to make tick marks, which is what I was actually doing yesterday. Okay, 1 inch there, and then I'm going to leave a 1 1/4 inch to the next one. 1 2 3 4 5. And then another 1 1/4 inch. 1 2 3 4 5. And that's going to help me stamp all my books on the shelf. All right. Let me grab a piece of scrap. And I'll put it underneath here so that I don't have to worry about stamping off onto my desk. Okay, so I used 3 colors here. I used, actually not 3 colors, I lied. It's 2 colors. I used Misty Moonlight and I used Crumb Cake. And what I did to get that second shade of blue is actually the Misty Moonlight stamped off. So I just stamped that in full ink, and then that one was your stamped off ink. Okay, so I'll show you what I mean. Let me grab the stamps. So I already have them set up on my blocks from last night. So for this one, there is 1 stamp in the set that is a set of books. And I didn't want them all to be the exact same. So in some spots, I actually only inked up 3 books. Okay, so that's what I'll show you today. All right, so let's start off. I'm going to follow my example there in full strength, Misty Moonlight. And I'm going to stamp the entire image. Okay. Just checking. I always visually check to see that my ink is evenly distributed as best as I can. All right, so I'm going to stamp along the line. I hope my head doesn't get in the way, and I'm just trying to line up the bottom of my stamp with the line so it's straight. Okay, now I'm just going to go ahead and stamp it again right next to it. So then you get a stamped off blue, which is lighter. And let me grab my chamois. I'm going to be constantly cleaning this because I'm going to alternate between the Misty Moonlight and Crumb Cake. So let's get this one out. So it doesn't matter if your stamped images are slightly, you know, a little bit high, a little bit above the line or below the line. You're going to cover that up with the shelf, so it won't matter too much. Okay, but it is nice that this is clear, and if I could stick my head right into the camera, it'd probably be a little bit straighter, but so excuse me. There we go. And I'm going to go back to blue. Okay, I'm just going to make sure it's dry. That's why I'm stamping off onto this sheet. All right. Oh, actually, you know what? I did just 3 there. Let me just clean that off, and I will ink up just 3 of the books, just for variation so that they're not all looking the same. Okay. All right, so the way I did that is that because this is clear, it's really easy to see where 3 books ends. So I'm just going to ink those 3 books. And because I'm going to ink a second set of books in the same color, I'm not too concerned if it, you know, if I go a little bit over onto the next book, it's going to get stamped anyways. Okay, see I have a little bit of a line there, no worries, because I'm going to cover that up with another one, another set of these books. So the stamping is not that bad. It's actually kind of fun. There we go. And then I'm just going to stamp off that last one to finish off the shelf. Okay. All right, so let's start the next line. No worries, Tara, I am late. You really didn't miss a whole lot yet. We're really just getting started. So, okay, the next line I'm going to start with the Crumb Cake, and I can see that I just started with the right half, but it doesn't really matter this time because if I ink up the whole thing or not, because I can stamp off the edge. Okay, so let's start here. And now I'll do the full image. Sorry, I'm gonna, hopefully my head's not in the way. There we go. All right, so I'm gonna do, if you see here, I did 3 books again. So I'm just going to make sure that I ink up just those 3. And then I'm going to do it again so that I get a lighter shade of blue. And I think I did one more dark blue, Misty Moonlight. So let's just do the 3. Oh yeah, that's a great idea. You can make that into stacks of books. All right, and now I'm going to go back to Crumb Cake. Yes, Tara, actually, can you see there are pencil lines here? I actually did put pencil lines here and I measured them out. So that's earlier on we did that, but I will provide the pencil lines on your kit pieces. Okay. All right. Okay, so let's do the last line. The last line starts with dark, Misty Moonlight. Okay. Oops, I lied. Misty Moonlight. Okay. Okay. And then I'm going to do 3 of the crumb cake. So it's just really just varying them. You can choose how you want to stamp this yourself. I just like a little bit of, try to vary the heights of the books on the shelf. Okay. And I'm going to put a light blue one there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ink it up and we'll stamp off before we put it onto the card mat. Okay. See, I can see that's darker. I could see that even on the stamp. Okay, that's better. Here we go. Okay. One more set of 3. And then I'll do crumb cake. It's weird. I think this card looks shorter. This mat. Let me just see. I didn't cut it short, did I? No, it isn't. So I'm not fitting on as many books as I did before, which is really strange. All right. Okay, so that is all the books that we need. Sandra, I don't think you would eyeball it either, would you? I mean, if I eyeballed this and tried to make it straight, you can be sure that my books would be like, you know, crooked and it would look like they were on like bumpy ground. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut those strips that I need. And of course, you will receive the strips pre-cut. And I had one lying around here. I had an extra one, but don't know where it's gone to. So I'm going to cut it so that the grain of the wood follows the orientation of the shelf. It doesn't really matter which way, I guess, but that's what I've chosen. So it's 1/4 of an inch. I'm pretty sure I'm going to need a second strip here. So let me just cut that. All right, let me just double check the width of my shelf. Okay, let's see. So I did say it's 5 inches. So I'm going to cut my shelves a little bit longer because you know how the paper is like, it always seems like the paper is, you know, not exactly what you measured. So I don't want my shelf to end up being just a tiny bit too short. So I'm going to make it a bit longer and then trim it down. And that way I know it will be long enough for sure. Okay, so I'm just going to cut these strips at 5 1/4 instead. And we'll trim it down after. Yes, I could have created the shells with an embossing folder, and I did do that the first time. I'll show you the original I had tried with it, but this gives it more depth. It's got color in it and shading, so it worked out better. And that's exactly why I wanted the Country Woods DSP, because I knew that I was going to be making a lot of bookshelves and such, so I wanted the wood for it. Okay. Just oh, here we go. Here's the original template. I'll show you this one. So this one I used a one of the retired embossing folders to put in the embossed grain in the wood, but you don't have the same depth of color, right? So, and I ended up deciding I didn't like the crumb cake as a background because it was too dark. Okay, so let me get some glue on this and then we'll adhere it on top. I have my tweezers here so I can pick them up. So I'm putting very thin line of glue here so that it doesn't all squish out when I place it. Okay. All right, so now I am just going to use it to slightly cover up the bottoms of my books so that they all look straight. Actually, let me use my grid to help me put this down, because you'd be amazed at how much a single strip of paper will wiggle when you try to place it down. Okay, so I put it right to the end, and I have glue sticking out there. Let me just grab a piece of paper. I just realized that I don't want it sticking to everything. I'm just going to grab a piece of scrap from my recycling, and I'm just going to scrape that little bit of glue off so it will dry faster and we can get this trimmed off without sticking. Okay. So remember not to do that for the next one. Yeah, I mean, you could just blend on a piece of paper to get variations in your color, and then die cut from there, or emboss or whatever. There's lots of methods you could use. And of course I was talking and I forgot. I just don't want to go right to the end there. There we go. Okay. Yeah, so the Country Woods DSP I think will come in very handy when you're creating with this bundle. Okay, and we'll put on the last one. All right. So this one's not quite to the bottom. I mean, I guess it could go all the way to the bottom, but just the way my measurements worked out, I have a slight gap underneath, which I'm okay with. All right, so now I can just take a pair of scissors and snip these off. Okay, so that is our bookshelf right there. I'm going to stamp our little cat. I thought about making him in yellow, and it didn't quite work out. I wasn't really happy with that color combination, so I ended up with pumpkin pie and early espresso for this this cat. Okay. I really like adding the stripes on this. This is called two-step stamping. I don't do a lot of it, actually. I don't usually choose a lot of sets that have two-step stamping, but this one's really cute. So excuse my head if it pops into the screen. I'm just trying to line up the stripes on his back and on his head. And on his tail. Perfect. Okay, so I will need to use the cut and emboss machine for this. And I've already die cut my books, so those are good to go. Let's put them over on this side so they don't get lost. And I'm just going to take a moment and die cut that little guy. So if you get the kit and you're not crafting with me in person, because I am going to be crafting with my team as a special perk for this kit, you will need the bundle to finish this set, or you can substitute with something in your own stash. I'm just looking for the cat die. Just a second. Of course, it's not where I expect it to be. Oh, there it is. Okay, found it. Here's the cat die. Okay. And we'll run it through and cut him out. Isn't he cute? Let's get this out of the way. All right, we have a little bit more stamping to do. I stamped "It's a Birthday for the Books" right there. And I actually did it in Night of Navy just to give it more punch. You could go ahead and do it in Misty Moonlight too, but I decided that on this tag I was going to use Night of Navy cardstock and for the books, and then also for the stamp. Let me find it. Here we go. I think this time I'm going to stamp the sentiment just a little further to the right. Oh, and one more shade of blue. Do you see this blue? That is not Misty Moonlight. It is Boho Blue, but it looks very close to the stamped off version of Misty Moonlight. Okay. So let's put this to the right. And we'll add on our little books. And actually what I'm going to do first is I'm going to attach my cat to my book. So he's actually sitting on top of he's adhered to the top book, okay? So I'm just going to put a strip of glue to hold him there. So let's let him dry for a moment, and we'll put this one on first. So I'm just going to line it up against the second stitching line. Okay. I don't want to get too much glue on the seams between the books, because then otherwise the glue tends to ooze out between. I saw your comment, Sandra, about the stamp apparatus or the stamp positioner for two-step stamping, and it's very true. But are you not impressed with how well I did with the cat? Actually, I'm going to move this up just a bit. Okay. All right. So because there is a small layer of cardstock stuck together, the cat, you can adhere it with just glue, or you can add a glue dot, which is what I'm going to use on this part, because it's going to be a little bit, there's a bit of a difference in the height of the papers. So the glue dot will give it that tiny bit of extra height so that it lies really flat on your card. But this is purely optional. With just the tiny bit of difference, you probably wouldn't even notice this. But this is a trick that I like to use. Okay. Thank you, Sandra. I see that you were impressed with my two-step stamping. Eyeballed it and everything. All right, so now my cat tail has a little bit more room without covering the letters in the sentiment. Okay, so all right, so I'll tell you, this is like the trickiest part for me. So what I did to get that twine back there, I didn't tie a bow because I didn't want the knot to cause a like a lump underneath the paper, which, I mean, with twine you don't really get much of a lump. It's probably okay, but I wanted to use a trick that I've seen lots of other demonstrators use, which is just applying adhesive to the back. Where's my stamp and seal? And then just adhering the twine by lying it flat on top of the adhesive. Okay, so I am not very practiced in that. And you will see me struggle with this, but I'm going to do it anyway so that those of you who have trouble tying knots, you know, have an alternative method. So I'm just kind of putting adhesive all over the place because I don't know exactly where I'm going to put my my twine. Okay, so I like to leave the twine on the spool because I don't know exactly how much I'm going to use. And I'm going to try to work with the curl. Okay, so I know that my end, I want it to be sticking out like this. So let's do it like that. And I gotta twirl it about here. I think I'm gonna make it a little bit longer. And then I want to loop the come out around here. So let's see if I can figure that out. It's probably easier to do it from the front, but I've seen other demonstrators who do it all from the back and they just stick it on and it looks great. It seems like magic to me. And I want one end. Oh, I feel like this is not long enough. Let's stick it out a little bit more here. And I want another end to stick out on the other side. So let's position it over here. There we go. I'm just kind of twirling the twine a little bit so that the curve of the twine will curve back. I'm just going to snip it off there. Well, yeah, that's fine too. Okay, so I'm going to get a tiny bit shorter. All right, so then all I have to do now, I'm going to make sure it sticks down. And if you want to be really sure that it doesn't come unraveled, which has happened to me before, is I have placed a piece of tape, Scotch tape over here, just to make sure that nothing moves, because it's really, you know, you have these in your stash, you might have them for a little while before they actually get used, and it's just so disappointing when you've set up one of these ribbons or twine and they've come out. I've had mine come out after the fact, and I can't fix them because it's underneath. So I'm putting a piece of Scotch tape to make sure it doesn't move. All right, dimensionals. So I'm just gonna stick some dimensionals on here to make it pop. And I'm gonna have to assemble the rest of the card before I can actually stick this on. I'm gonna use a mini dimensional for up here. So I'm not putting it on top of the twine because I don't want it to make it higher in some spots than others, because otherwise it won't lie flat, right? So I'm only putting it around the twine. Okay, let me assemble the rest of the card so that we can put that on. Okay, so here's my card base. Let me get that out of the way. Okay, and I'm actually going to stick this piece on here first. Okay, and I'm going to use glue to give me a little bit of extra time to maneuver it if it's not quite lined up. Because this is a birthday card, I was thinking after the fact that I might have wanted to sneak in like a little birthday cake somewhere in here, like a birthday cake or a cupcake or something, just to make it more birthday-like. But I did not have time this morning because I was so late in finishing this card. But that's something that you may want to consider if you're making this card for yourself. Okay, and this is just glued down flat, as I said, because this is going to be up on dimensionals. I don't want the card to be too thick, as I have found some of my Christmas cards couldn't be sent by regular mail because they were too thick. Okay. I can take all these off. Okay. Okay, so I'll use my tweezers. Helps me get my fingers out of the way. I'm going to position it here. And that is our card. Yeah, I think some of our cards are more like parcels. You have to make a box for them. But this one should go regular mail. And I think it'll be great as a birthday card for a guy. But like I said, I had thought about it after the fact that it would be great to stick a cupcake or a cake on one of the shelves. Make it more birthday-like. Or even in place of the books here, you could put one there. So I'm going to play with that. If I make this card again, I would add like a birthday cake or something. Or maybe some candles, something. So, but you can play with that, and I hope you enjoyed this and are inspired. You can play with it yourself with your own stash, and I will see you next week with card number 2. Bye, everybody.